Tea time. Truth or tea. Just a little update. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like very on top dog right now. And it's like the verdict's out whether it's important to be in conflict right now about the state of the world. But I appreciate the opportunity to argue. And I am a Libra, so that's why. But I'm top dog right now in a DM, and I haven't had a kind of DM argument in a long time. I think a lot of people quit following me a long time ago. But, this is safe space person that I've known for 20 years seems overly sensitive about it because she didn't really directly experience COVID or directly experience anybody dying, but she, through the distant relative, which is the typical story. And I'm like, well, okay, yeah, that 0.03% of people that who even got infected maybe died. Like, that's case in point. It might be helpful for me to read what I said. But I want to say, again, verdict is out about, friends and I will discuss whether it's worth our energy. And I think it is, but not every day. And today, yes, it has definitely consumed me. So that's a little bit of a backslide, and it's time to get to work for real. But I had a little breakthrough about design and how I'm showing up on social media and my other business, so that feels okay. But let me read my response. I think that might be helpful. I think that the art of the argument could be a fascinating thing to explore. So let me go get that. Oh, and it is right here. So bless her heart. This person is obviously just very compassionate. But here we go. It starts with me having posted a video that said, does anybody believe that there's still a vaccine? Or, a pandemic? Does anybody still believe that there's still a pandemic? She said, for those of us who have relatives who have died, yes, there is a pandemic. Yes, you must be so privileged. And honestly, I've watched my own experts on the pandemic, and the doctors in our country aren't scientists, but if they were, they would know there are many factors to the survival rate, but also to the death rate, but you can't be so naive. Then she sends me a video from Gaia.com about full spectrum healing with the sun, which, duh, but I mean, try to keep up here because Courtney Hunt has been talking a lot about this. Courtney Hunt, MD, talking a lot about mitochondria, and it's all in a subtle context of being against the current narrative and that the sun is the only thing we need. And this kind of, she's referencing Bill Gates is trying to block the sky and chemtrails, so anyway, I know about this. But anyway, she's like, in my opinion, I've always loved your opinion, but this is I am right vendetta of yours for a reason. I said because the cure is worse than the disease. I actually said because the cute is worse than the disease as a typo, autocorrect shit. So super disappointed. I decided to deflect and put the shame back on her. That's just how we handled it. This was 7 a.m. I had just woken up. Super disappointed to know that you were fixated by the mainstream news and narrative, even when you watch Gaia.com, which is full of exposing what's going on. And then I said, be well. I kind of wanted to end it. And including the suicide rate is absolutely skyrocketing. We are all experiencing great loss. This is true. It's really insane. A stat that I heard last night in LA or LA County is that the rate of suicide is higher in the last 9 months than it's been in 30 years. So I'll provide more details on where I heard that later. It's a 98.3% survival rate. I'm thoroughly unconcerned. She says, you are getting your news from sources that are fixated, that you are not fixed. She said, you are getting your news from sources that you are fixated on. I'm not fixated on any mainstream news. Oh, really? You're highly unconcerned because you're not dying. I'm not worried about it. I'm not saying that we all mask up in quarantine. I believe that isolation is definitely causing problems of its own, but the discount of a disease as not a pandemic is very insensitive when it obviously is a concern, not just mainstream media, but all countries across the world. Considering you're not a scientist, you're obviously getting your information and your opinions from somebody or something that you consider your media source. Thank you for the be well. That's quite snotty. People that joke and laugh about it being a pandemic and asking if anyone else believes it, it is quite rude for the people like me whose boyfriend lost his grandpa and daughter's daycare provider who lost his mom. High survival rate for those that survive. And for somebody who I've called a friend for 20 years, you didn't even spell my name right. Okay, it was 7 a.m. and all I did was I added an E. Viruses don't, this is what I said, viruses don't exist. People are dying and I'm sorry. It's not an invisible particle that jumps between people. That is totally absurd. If you want to villainize me for not being a scientist, that's your problem. I stick with critical thinking and people who are on board with that. People who are committed to breathing with and touching people as a means of healing no matter what. There's a sick lineage of control over the masses, and I'm not part of it. Then I sent her a link to something I posted today, the initial video that started it all for me by Dr. Cowan. And I immediately discredited it when I first saw it because he was like, EMFs are causing, he's like, 5G is causing this. I go on. I'm a Libra, and I'm a Taurus moon. What is insensitive is allowing every bodily right to be slowly stripped away because 0.07% of infected people die. I'm not parading around my submission either. Virtue signaling and appeasing to fake laws. Mandates are not laws. The depth of the deception is truly horrific. I don't mind offending a single person when I'm standing for my health freedom and bodily sovereignty. Have you ever wondered why the pro-choice party is suddenly anti-choice regarding the new social restrictions? Because it's a plan. Would promote killing babies and then destroy people who are not sick, who defy the mandates. Twisted world. Thanks for helping me feel ever clear on why I'm here and what I am saying. She says, I do believe in bodily freedom. Absolutely, I agree. And I'm not against freedom over your body. And trust me, that is not what I'm talking about here. But to discount a virus that is not a real organism, not a threat, is to throw the baby out with a bathwater. And I said, exactly. Toxic world, traumatic world. This causes death. Farmers know it. Governments know it. Gates knows it. Yes, people are dying. They're committing suicide and they're being murdered by the plan to depopulate. She says, I hate big pharma. I have not quarantined myself. I believe there is a big agenda behind medicating people, but I do think that there is a communicable diseases that need to be taken care of with better means of science. Science. And I say many hospital deaths were from unnecessary ventilators. Undercover nurses and docs have exposed this. I follow scientists and doctors all day long. Not anyone who would ever be on the news, and all of them basically risking their careers and lives to say what they're saying. She said, I've heard that before about the ventilators and wondered myself, so I appreciate you paying attention and looking into it for sure. The link I sent to you was not a mainstream media, but to scientists giving an interview about why the communicable diseases affect certain races or certain body types in different ways. And it is very much not mainstream media, and he discounts putting an umbrella over the whole pandemic. She's talking about Gaia.com, the sun, healing of the sun. I say, all tests are bullshit. What affects races differently is their level of trauma and testing. But mostly the tests are so fake that anyone claiming a population is more negatively affected is pure speculation based on false science. The inventor of the PCR test demanded it never be used to diagnose infections. Look up Dr. Carrie Mullis. She's like, actually, his wasn't a blood test that he said made people more susceptible, but instead melatonin, but all tests are not bullshit. I said proximity to pollution and EMFs is a factor. Access, as always, between different races based on our socioeconomic structure is always a factor. The other reasons races are purported to be affected at a higher rate is that there's a reason to vaccinate, aka murder them. I like hearing more of what you have to say because it does matter when experts are weighing in. And then she says, I like hearing more of what you have to say because it does matter when experts are weighing in, especially against mainstream media. And I clarify and wrap up the whole deal by saying SARS-CoV-2 has not been isolated under strict scientific process called Koch's postulates. Dr. Andrew Kaufman has more on this. So no, tests are BS. They find a protein particle, call it a virus, but really our bodies are made from bacteria and virus fragments. They add damned protein molecules. They add damned protein molecules to complete the partial fragment of the virus. None of this is real. Viruses are exosomes, which are excreted by our cells for repair. Some of us believe that we may be wiped out at any time because the controllers are so aggressive, and they've done this before many times. So my focus is on enjoying life and sharing more. So my focus is on enjoying life and sharing more. This all feels detailed and stale to me, but is the root of the issue. I'd get into it more later. Everything we know is a lie. She says, I very much agree with most of these statements. I took your previous message out of context and I apologize. The art of the argument. I have a long way to go. Certain mentors I feel like I'm bound to reach out with soon. Old crones, people I know who have been involved in truthing or activist movement for a while. Hopefully we'll hear a little bit more from them later about how they might handle either the progressive kind of arguments or the disdain or the abstaining from the arguments. And it just goes in waves. We are evolving, and I truly believe that we're like a breakaway society that probably won't have to deal with this for a whole lot longer. I'm really craving, and I'm really, really stoked to see Anarcho Poco, this event going on right now where people are gathering in real life, in real time, to advance our society. And then it's also live streaming online. And then like next or on the 20th, there is the reunion. What is it called? I have my stories here. Oh shoot, where is it? The reunion summit online, put out by Alpha Vedic. I'll keep everyone posted on some of this.